Hey guys, so today I'm going to talk about commitment to your artwork because being an artist is, a journey, and I think when we're younger, we are, far more committed to creating pieces. And this might just be a personal thing, but I just want to talk about it anyway. So as my life has got more complicated, as things have become, more adult, as a lot of people would say, I find that my commitment to one specific piece is dwindling, and I have to forcibly make myself work on specific things. I have, within my Procreate library, I have about 10 pieces that are really, really good, but I just haven't given them the time to put them to a finish, and I've probably got 100 more, maybe 200 more that are great ideas that are somewhere close to kind of coming to a midpoint, but I haven't even pursued because there's so much work to do, right? And it's, for me, it's more quantity over quality right now. It's, I want to get ideas out, and I want the quality to be kind of medium, and that means a lot of the time, some of these pieces aren't even finished. See, I was interrupted. Someone called my phone. Anyway. So yeah, some of these pieces aren't finished. Some of these pieces are very much kind of like very close to being finished, but not quite finished. I haven't put, the final gloss on them and stuff. And that speaks to just not having enough time to execute as much ideas as you want to execute. But I think it is crucial to just slow down and just work on what you can, and that way you don't jump around too much in your ideas. I've been cursed with a far too active imagination, and it's a gift and a curse, because I want to create multiple different things at once. I want to create multiple different genres of art at once. Sometimes I want to create really pretty girls that just sit around and look cute for the sake of the image, and sometimes I want to create these huge grandiose concepts with giants and superheroes and environments, and there's not enough time to do every single thing to a good degree. There's just not enough time, because art requires commitment, and that's what this video is about. This video is about the idea that you have to commit to your art. And when I say commit to your art, what I mean is you have to take the necessary time to complete the necessary piece, and you have to commit the right resources to that piece. If it's a piece of concept art and you want it to match stuff that you're seeing in the industry, you might have to learn 3D, or you might have to learn basic 3D, lay it out, and you can do that in any 3D software. You can lay it out with cubes or whatever you want to do, and put them on their side and change their shape and whatever, and you can make an environment if you really put your mind to it, I'm telling you, right? Or you're gonna have to find the right photo textures to make it match what you're seeing industry professionals produce. If you want it to be a really high quality illustration, something that's very painterly, you're gonna have to paint, and you're gonna have to spend painting time, which is a lot longer than doing traditional concept art. But you're gonna have to spend that painting time developing that image, and you have to realize going in what it is that you're doing. This is something I give myself credit for. I've always known this. I've always known what type of image I want to create, because it's essential to me to know exactly the image that I want to create each time. Because when you're dabbling with different genres, different styles, a lot of the time it comes down to understanding which type of image you want to create. Once you have an understanding of this, as I said, you need to delegate the right things towards it. So if you need photo reference, you need to go on Google and get some photo reference, or take some photos with your camera, or whatever is necessary to get the piece off the ground. I say this because this will highly speed up your process. For me, I have spent a lot of time, and I'm going to stress this as long as I have this channel, and I'm changing this. I am changing this. I've been building it up. I've spent so many years doing work without reference, and the problem with that is that you're robbing yourself of possibilities, because reference offers so much extra information that why wouldn't you use it? All of your favorite artists are using it. your favorite artists from history pretty much probably only used reference. So essentially, not using reference is a bad idea. Now, I get it. I get why a lot of us don't use reference, because we are very predicated on being fantasy artists. And my identity has always been kind of a duel. It's always been between a concept artist and a fantasy artist, right? Which is the two things. And I say a duel, but really it's a triple, because I'm also a comic book artist. That's what I wanted to be initially. That's what got me into wanting to learn Photoshop in the beginning. And now I use Procreate. But in the beginning, it was all about wanting to make comics. And then I was exposed to the world of concept art, and I was like, this is beautiful. And then later on, I'd say a few years later, I really cared more about illustration. So I cared about all of them equally now, and realized they're all part of the same kind of machine, but they're all implemented differently. Comics are more hand-drawn, and if you're going to do comic books, you need to know what tools you need to create those comic books, and you need to commit to finding out how they work, especially if you want to do them by hand. If you want to do them digitally, you need to figure out what the best techniques are to get your work done fastest. What's the best software? Is it Procreate? Is it Photoshop? Is it Clip Studio? And pretty much the truth is you can use any of these software, Photoshop included, if you want to create comics. Comics are simply just images in boxes, and you can do that in pretty much any software, as long as you can draw in the software, granted. But all of the software I mentioned you can draw in. But this video is just about knowing what you need to do to commit to what you're creating, and realizing that it's a task that might take quite long. Being a comic book artist, doing comic book pages isn't a quick thing, because a comic book page requires you to do everything yourself. It requires you to literally draw every single aspect, of the comic. If you do them digitally, then it's a little bit easier, but a lot of people still do them traditionally, which isn't a bad thing. It's a beautiful thing, but it's more of a process. There's people like Koteri Inc. You should probably check out his Instagram. He's fantastic. He does this animal kind of comic book where his main character's like a chimpanzee. It's fantastic, but he draws it all on Procreate. It's probably one of the best examples of Procreate artwork that I've seen from someone that isn't like a fantasy illustrator like Evermel Amundsen. It's beautiful. But he understands what's necessary, and I think for me, art has always been something that I've been able to conjure up pretty quickly, and I've noticed now I have a low attention span for something if it's not panning out, and I've had to start to come back on myself and say no, relax, because every so often I'll spend a day on something and I'll be in love with that thing for a year, and I'll say I should do that more often. And that's because naturally I'm not the illustrator type. Naturally I'm a concept artist. I want to create concepts. I want to make ideas come to life. I want to convey something to an audience. And I think if you're spending excess time making sure the anatomy is perfect, or making sure that the perspective is too perfect, and perspective should always be okay, it should always be good enough, in my opinion. I think it's important to do those things as well. But if you're spending too much excess time on doing things traditionally as well, I always kind of find myself thinking that I'm wasting time and I'm not being productive enough. And I think that's the problem. And that is not a positive mindset for an artist. I think an artist needs to recognize that once they start a piece, they should commit the necessary amount of time to get that piece done. And it's always, I think we always kind of know, unless you're a beginner artist, I think you always know how long something's going to take you roughly. It's just about being able to commit that time. Remember what I was saying at the beginning about children, I was saying about work, I was saying about I have less time, I'm doing adult things. The problem is when you're doing so much adult stuff. So for example, I had my son today and his mother came and picked him up. From waking at 8 o'clock in the morning till about 12 in the afternoon, I couldn't do any art because I was watching my son. Even if I wanted to. And then as soon as he went, I thought, okay, let's make some videos. So it's like you have to realize when it's time to commit time to art, you know? But anyway, guys, that has been the video. Thank you for listening. This is basically just kind of like an insightful kind of, not ideal, but it was an insightful kind of like overall look at what it takes to kind of commit to your art. I think it's important to think about these things, to think about how you're going to go forward with it, you know. And I think the next video will be about streamlining your process. I've already recorded some audio for that, but I'm not sure if it holds up. So I'm gonna have a listen to it, and then if it is good, I'll probably make that video. Thank you guys. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.